Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Okay, so this is video number 2 on why do we fall in love with avoidance so powerfully? And what are the lessons to be learned from avoidance that apply to every relationship in your life, whether it's intimate, personal, marriage, children, dealing with people at the office, just dealing with human beings. We are different, and that's okay. Do the avoidants ever actually heal? I believe some do. Are the avoidants good? Absolutely. They have a heart of gold. It's just hidden by a defense shield, which I made in the last video about how every country has their jet fighter pilots with their missiles and their bombs and their guns and their naval ships with their cannons and their machine guns and their military. So they do have a defense shield, and when it gets triggered, it hurts. They're essentially protecting the Fort Knox of love. They have a love inside that is unbelievable. It is sweet, it is kind, it is gold. Precious, but be careful. Are we in a video simulation? I don't know, but I do know this. We are being sent lessons for sure, and teachers. More than 25 years ago, I did a 5-week NLP timeline therapy, Ericksonian hypnosis therapy training, including Huna, an 8-hour, 12-hour training in Huna, which is Hawaiian energy healing. And there's one thing that they taught us, I heard it in psychology class, but I think it just stood out more for me there, is we are all playing unconscious roles. Our unconscious mind is purposely triggering other people to basically bring up their issues to be healed. Now, back then, it wasn't that I didn't believe it. I did believe it, and I logically understood it. But now that I've gone through life at as far as I have, I can see it consciously. It's very, very obvious this is what's going on. For those of you who have finally awakened to narcissist abuse and you've gone through the 3 to 5 year isolation phase, what I call the Great Wall of China, and when you start to come out, you're a much stronger, smarter, and much more aware person. You don't just trust people. You don't just, forgive people and overlook when they hurt you. You start seeing people for who they are. Meaning, you're starting to wake up. You're starting to grow up. You're starting to learn your lessons. So as you look back, you're like, man, I learned a lot of stuff from that experience, even though I didn't like it. It was painful. It was dark. It was evil. You learn to stand up for yourself. You learn to speak up for yourself. Even if it's only 10% more, 7% more, 20% more, you are finally saying, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not putting up with this. You walked away, and that's another lesson. And suddenly you're like, okay, I got this. I see the red flags. Boom, you run into someone. Oh, they're a narcissist. 3 weeks later, a month later, you walk away. And then it gets, maybe it's 2 months. Maybe it's 1 month. And then it's 3 weeks. And then it's 2 weeks. Then it's 3 conversations. Like, oh yeah, I'm seeing the signs. So you begin to get sharper. You become more aware. You have learned a lot of lessons. I'm at a point now where I can see it coming. Like in the last video, I had said, she had said at one point, I think I said it, or someone in the business said to her, I think I said, no, you're just you're an angel or little angel or something. She says, oh no, I'm not. And I don't remember what she said verbatim. I'm a little devil or something like that. It was cute, it was sweet, but I knew right then the whole Maya Angelou thing. When they show you, believe them. When they tell you, believe them. And I knew right then and there, okay, here we go. I'm going to go for a ride. And I knew because the argument inside was, oh no, because I really like this person. And I knew on a logical level, you need to leave, Michael. She's telling you right now. She just told you. Now here's another thing. I forget what happened, but I said, oh, I'll heal you. Now she didn't know the work that I did yet. This was another day. And she goes, well, you might be the one who actually needs the healing. And right then and there, I was like, oh no, here we go again. I knew. I'm telling you, I was like, yep, here, and I remember kind of looking up the sky, looking at God, going, yep, here we go. Now, I'm telling you, in those two moments, there's another moment, I'm forgetting what she said, I put in the last video, but she said something else, I forget what it was. Oh yeah, by the way, at that same moment, when she said, you might be the one that needs to be healing, a few minutes later, she said, oh, you're an NPC. And I looked at her like, no, I'm not. And I realized I might actually be dealing with an NPC. You know the whole thing when the narcissist says something to you, they're actually talking about themselves, etc., etc. A NPC, by the way, is a non-player character. Haven't you noticed by now, especially for those of you who've been through narcissist abuse, you look back and you're like, it's like they had no soul. It was literally almost like they were a robot or something, like a program. And here's the other thing that we learned about narcissist abuse is all of them do the same techniques, the same strategies. It's like a program, like they went to some school and they got taught and trained and conditioned to do the same techniques, the same steps, love bombing phase, then the devaluing phase, and then this, and then the hoovering and blah blah blah, and then the techniques within each phase, and you're like, even though I moved 5 states over, 1,000 miles away, it's like it's the same techniques. Like, what is it? And as we go online, we're all like, wait a minute, we all went through the same thing? What the hell's going on? It's like the robots, NPC, non-player characters. Now, with this avoidant, I do believe it's very possible, and I'd like to talk to her about this, it's very possible that she didn't quite understand what was happening. I do believe a lot of people, how do I explain it? It's kind of like the whole thing before where we're all wearing masks, what I said earlier in this video, and like we're unconsciously triggering each other's stuff to come up to heal. What I learned in Hawaii in psychology class. It's like we're walking around, we're all playing characters because our unconscious mind said to this person, that person in the room, in the class, in the business, and wherever we work is, hey, I need you to treat me like shit in this way so I can deal with my abandonment issues, my avoidant issues, my whatever issues, my hurt from when I was a little child of feeling insecure, or, who knows. So I, beyond a shadow of a doubt, realize like we at the very least, we are doing this to each other, and it's painful, but it's meant to be so we can grow and overcome all this stuff, so we can flow through life a lot better, whether it's this lifetime, the next lifetime, or maybe we go back up to heaven or somewhere else. But we're here to heal this stuff so we can get along better. Maybe not with other people, but with ourselves so we can function better. So in the last video, I talked about why do we fall in love with avoidance. Because, okay, one of the things I've noticed, there hasn't been a single video dedicated to why in the hell do we fall in love with avoidance so powerfully, dismissive avoidance, fearful avoidance, whatever. So in the last video, and what you're going to hear from a lot of people online, whether it's an energy healer, therapist, or even another avoidant, is because you have stuff that's still stuck underneath that needs to be dug up, okay? And you have to heal them. So, okay, for example, one thing is they are really charming. They are really charming people when they're at that phase of meeting someone, because they generally came out of a phase of, oh, they got out of a relationship, oh, I got to be alone, I got to be independent. And then eventually, like, yeah, I miss being loved. And here's the thing, they crave love intensely. So they really pour it on. And I'm just like, man, this person is amazing. I've felt so much love. And here's the thing about an avoidant. Even when this person was fairly close, like 95%, I could feel that love coming out. And I was like, what is this? I felt it in my heart. It was the most powerful love I've ever felt in my entire life. This was beautiful. This was pure. This was amazing. It was golden. We laughed. The best time I've ever had with any human being on the planet in my entire life. I can't think of a single person that I spent any amount of time with that was like this. It was amazing. First, second, third, fourth, fifth date, sixth, seventh. It was just wow, laughter. And you know what it really was? I felt so comfortable with this person. I'd never felt so comfortable with someone so fast in my entire life. It was just, and I remember like, she's the one. And I was like, now here's the thing that I knew, like this was meant to be. This was a divine appointed meeting, or I'm not sure quite, it was divine for sure. But not quite what I thought or hoped. Because at this point she had said, oh, I'm not an angel, I'm a little devil or something like that. And then the other thing about the NPC and the other thing, oh, I think you have some healing. I think you might be healing, or I might be helping you to heal. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. And I knew, but I didn't care. Because number one, I don't mind crashing. I don't mind getting hurt, especially if I'm going to learn something and or heal. So what ended up happening is she was open, I was wide open, this was amazing, flowing, everything was, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is what love is about. This is the perfect person for me. And then all of a sudden there's this what they do, they call it fault finding. I'm going to go really quick through this because I explained it in the last video. And it kind of hurt, but not really, because it was kind of very gentle. It was kind of like, it was very subtle, but I noticed I was very conscious of it. In fact, I was really proud, like, wow, I caught that like right away. Like I didn't even miss it. I was like, holy. And I didn't call her on it, which is really probably what I think the real lesson is okay, I'm going to get to the lessons in a little bit. So I was really proud watching this, and the second time she did it, the third time, I'm like, okay, at this point, like why is she doing this? Like, we're getting along so well. It really was for my learning, and the learning is like, it's like God saying to you, like, okay, so you learn from narcissist abuse, like you learn like those people are mean, cut them out, because one thing about empaths, we have a hard time, no matter how brutal, even if someone poisons us, beats us, it doesn't matter, shames us in front of their friends, we're just going to give them love. And God's like, no, I never said that. I told you to protect your heart. I told you to love others, meaning others that are of the heart, that are of the spirit, of the soul. Because very clearly in the Bible, God tells you to stay away from demons, to stay away from, what do they call them, like flying monkeys, meaning the demons' underlings. Like, you are not meant to mingle with those people or those entities or beings at all. Period. End of sentence. And God says it very clearly in the Bible. When he says love others, he means other loving, kind, beautiful people. He means to love each other and be good to each other. And to protect your heart from those who are not. So these are some of the lessons. So God came to me. Well, let's just say but this is let's just put it in this metaphorical way. It's like God came to me and said, okay, Michael, so you're hurt now, huh? I'm like, yep. And he's like, so why did you do that? Why did you learn the lesson of self-respect, standing up for yourself, not letting narcissists abuse you, and not letting mean people hurt you, and yet you let this person? And the answer was because she was so kind, she was so gentle. It wasn't this big, huge attack. It doesn't matter. Your body is the temple of the Lord, and the Lord resides within the temple, which is inside you. At the very least, that's how you connect to God, by being open to your heart. Even if an angel comes to you, the sweetest, kindest person, and they're hurting you, cutting you down, they call it fault finding. In narcissists, it's called devaluing. And when people are doing these things to hurt your self-worth, you're supposed to stand up for yourself and say, hey, that's not acceptable. Why are you doing that? Why did you say that? You're supposed to call them on that, and that is the lesson. And God is saying, why would you let this person do it? And my answer was, because they were so kind. They have such a beautiful heart. They're so gentle. They're this, and they genuinely are. And God's saying, so what? I don't care. You're not supposed to allow people to hurt you, because that cuts off your connection to God. If someone hurts your heart and your heart clenches and closes, you just cut off from God, and that is sin. Sin literally means to cut off from. So when you're open to your emotions, your door's wide open to God. If you get stung and hurt, even if there was a phrase I heard recently, it was like 1,000 little razor blade cuts can kill. They don't hurt that bad, but 1,000 of them over a period of time can kill you, and it'll make your heart close. Now, sin means to close off from. That literally is what it means. So to sin to God is you close your heart off to him. And it's probably not because you meant to, but because you let someone hurt you. You are not supposed to let people hurt you. You're supposed to have boundaries and self-respect and self-esteem, which means to protect yourself, to protect your emotions. And that's what God says. protect your heart. It's in the Bible. So this is the lesson of all of this, regardless of whether it's a demonic, what's the word for the worst narcissist? I can't think of the name. I want to say megalomaniac, but there's another word for it. The worst so whether it's the most demonic, dark narcissist demon attacking you, or the most beautiful, feminine, sweet, kind, loving being, it doesn't matter. Don't let people hurt you. Don't let people disrespect you. Self-respect, self-love, is not letting people disrespect you. Anybody. Alright, next lesson. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, when you learn this final lesson from the avoidant, that's when you get to move forward in your life. If you feel like you've been stuck, it's because you haven't been learning the lessons. And one of the main lessons is self-love. And what is self-love? It's self-respect. Well, what is self-respect? It's protecting your heart. It's protecting your emotions from anyone. When you finally learn this, if you listen to the end of the last video, how it really ended up beautiful, where it's like you realize, okay, for example, an avoidant, if they hurt you, it's like you're not angry. You're not. I mean, at the time, it really hurt to where, see, you don't even come from a place of hurt. You come from a place of being whole and complete and solid and grounded, where you feel good about yourself, going, hey man, what's going on with you? Like, why did you say that to me? Or why did you, why were you disrespectful? Like, why did you do that? Versus, oh my God, that was so mean. Why did you do that? Now, I'm not saying you're supposed to act. I'm saying that when you finally learn the lesson, all of a sudden you're coming from a completely different space without following some steps or some rules, or here's how you're supposed to deal with it, step 1, step 2. No, once you get to graduation, you just have this feeling of feeling good inside, and you just feel solid. Now here's the flip side of the coin. So what about the avoidant? Does the avoidant ever graduate? Because I do believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, they are being used, manipulated by spirit. And I don't necessarily mean some demon. I believe they're being used to poke you. And again, I want to talk to my last avoidant and go, hey man, did you know what you're doing? Like, did you come onto this planet and be like, yeah, I have to do this to this guy? Like, I don't believe they're conscious of it at all. I think it's an unconscious process. I think possibly a spirit, an angel, God is using them to poke you. They were meant to come into your life, and you were meant to come into their life, okay? To bring up the issues that need to be healed. So now you can communicate from an open space, which brings clarity and understanding to communication. So on the flip side of the coin, the question is, well, wait a minute, because avoidants have this beautiful light. I mean, it is the most beautiful light on the planet. It's like an angel. So the question is, yeah, but they have this kind of thick barrier around them. It's a defense shield, and they're not letting anyone in. And when they do, they close back up and they fire these missiles at you. Like, no, no, no. It's not to hurt you like a narcissist. It's more like kind of like Taiwan trying to protect themselves from China. Okay, forgive me if you're of those countries. I didn't mean anything personal, but it's kind of like a defense shield, and it hurts. It really does. The one thing I have heard, and the one thing I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, yes, avoidance absolutely can heal. The reason why is they have so much love. Love is a nurturing, healing experience. I believe that an avoidant heals once they complete their mission. And you are their mission. I believe it's for both. I believe that once you go through all these phases, from narcissist abuse to this, to this, to that, to the nicest avoidant on the planet, and you still get hurt, you're like, what am I missing? It doesn't matter who it is. Stand up for yourself. Self-respect. You teach people how to treat you. If you let people hurt you, even if they are the nicest, kindest, most feminine, sweetest person on the planet, it does not matter. It's like the narcissist was a demon from hell. It was from the devil. It was one of the devil's child or devil's soldiers. But an avoidant, it's like they're an angel, but this angel is really good at poking you and hurting you and cutting you in just the right way to get you to learn. Now, one of the most powerful lessons that I have learned in the last week of listening and understanding all of this, I hope if you've been on my channel for the last 5 years, you're listening to this video. God, I hope you listened to the last 2 or 3 videos. This lesson, and I'm going to repeat it right now, it is that important. This lesson will change the way you look at every relationship you've ever had, from friends to family to boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, mother, child, father, child, business, work. We are out of the survival era, so those rules do not apply. In a few videos back, I was talking about how when I was in Hawaii taking this 5-week training, they talked about how the Hawaiians or Islanders, how they survived. It's like, a lot of people were like, oh, they're so lazy. Like, well, they didn't really have to be industrious like we were, because they had food everywhere. You could throw a little curved piece of metal on a string out in the water and a fish is going to bite it, and boom, you pull it in. It's really easy to get fish. I used to live in Wisconsin when I was a kid, and all the ponds and lakes, I remember my friends going, oh, you don't need to put a worm on the hook. I'm like, yeah, you do. Otherwise, you're like, no, dude, look at all the fish. Just drop the hook in, and they'll bite onto it, and you got to fit. And dude, we would just like, boom, boom, boom. We would drop the hook, take the fish off, drop the hook, take the fish off. We would get 5, 10, 15 fish in 2 minutes. I mean, it was instant. And that's the way most Hawaiians and Islanders are. Like, food's everywhere. And they would just, if they want some fruit, they'd go to the tree and grab some fruit. It was like they didn't have to build. See, the people that lived in northern, in Europe, right, and northern areas that are cold, is you had very long periods of time where everything was frozen over. So you had to learn how to store food. You had to learn how to plant plants and make farms, and because otherwise you would starve to death. So you had to live life differently. You had to become industrious. Now here's the deal. The Hawaiians, not just Hawaiian, it could be the Tongans, the Maori, it could be all kinds of people. They had certain ways of social bonding, social rules, relationship rules, marriage rules. Even in the Old Testament, you wanted to have one husband with multiple wives so you could have a lot of children, so you could defend your tribe in case an invading tribe came in and tried to take over and kill you and take your children and your crops and your food and everything. That's the way it was. Now, we don't live that way anymore, do we? Another thing that talked about were the people that lived in the mountains up in like Great Britain or Ireland or Scotland or whatever. They lived differently and had different social rules, different values, and different beliefs because they had to survive. Otherwise, they would die. It's the same thing with people. So then you compare that to the people that lived on the flatland, the plains. Well, they had to live a certain way or they would die. So this is why different people, different countries, different lands, whether you're on the beach, whether you're on the ocean, whether you're on an island, whether you're up in the mountains, whether you're living on a desert, everything is different. So you had to have different social rules. When I met my ex-girlfriend, she was from Laos. And completely different culture, let me tell you. And every one of us thinks that our way is the right way. And you're wrong, and you're a sinner, and you're going to go to hell. What a load of shit. So here I am dating her, and they wanted us to get married, her family, her mom and dad, her sister, etc., etc. And they had these rules like, oh, you can't do that. And I'm like, why? Because I was raised in a really different way. I was raised a Christian. But not only a Christian in the United States of America, but not only a Christian in the United States of America, a Christian in the United States of America in California. Let me tell you, we're different than Christians in Alabama. So I have a method to my madness. Please follow me if you're this far. I promise you this is all going to make sense. So then one day Pastor Rex is showing me I can't remember that, but it's the rules or the beliefs of the church. It's right by the front door. And I go, what's this? And he goes, well, we believe in the Trinity, the God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I was like, oh, okay, so what does that mean? He goes, well, Michael, some people don't believe that. I'm like, really? Because every church that I'd gone to has always said that, so I just kind of unconsciously accepted it. I didn't even know there was a difference. And he goes, no. He goes, the church down the street, 2 blocks down there, they don't believe in the Trinity. They believe in one God, and that's it. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. So he goes, so these are our, there was a word for it, I can't remember what it is, but basically these are our beliefs. We believe in the Trinity. We believe that Jesus died on the cross for our sins. We believe A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I was like, oh, okay. I go, you mean other church? He goes, no. He goes, Michael, there are, I think he said either 1,000 or 10,000 different Baptist churches, because we were a former Baptist church that became non-denominational. And here's the thing, we were never a holy roller church where we rolled on the ground and screamed and flopped and spoke in tongues. Like, we never did any of that. And I didn't even know that that's what Baptist churches were known for. Because a friend of mine in college, he invited me to his church and they were doing that shit. Like, whoa, what's going on here? And I walked out. I was terrified. I was like, whoa, what is this? And he followed me outside. He's like, where are you going? I'm like, dude, what's going on in there? And he goes, well, we're holy rollers. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, that's, and I'd never heard of this before. I'd never seen it on TV. I was a young guy. I think I was 19. And he goes, you said that you're Baptist. I'm like, yeah. I go, we don't do that. He goes, Michael, that's what Baptist churches do. I was like, really? So I went and talked to Pastor X. He goes, no. He goes, some Baptist church. He goes, Michael, we don't do anything. We're a very conservative church. Here's the deal. I'm not knocking it. I actually believe some of those people, if they allow themselves to get into that emotionally, they will get a connection with God. So I'm not against it at all. My point in this video, though, is to say, Pastor Rick said, Michael, even amongst Baptist churches, I think he said there's 1,000 different beliefs in all of the churches in the United States alone. I'm like, well, then who's right? And he kind of just got really quiet and smiled. Now, here's the answer in the finished completion to the method of the madness. I heard this on a YouTube video about a week ago. I can't remember her name right now, but I put it in the first video I mentioned this. Here's what it's like. You were raised with a set of rules in your family and your church and your society around you, your neighborhood, your friends, whatever. Let's just keep it to your family, because remember when you were a kid and you went out and you went to your cousins and you met, like, okay, we met my step cousins for the first time when I was about, what grade was I? I think 3rd or 4th grade, something like that. So how old you? About 9 years old, and man, were they different. They lived in Wisconsin. We're from California. Totally different. We were looking at them like they were a bunch of weirdos. But guess what? They were looking at us like we were bad people, and we're like, why? Like, so it was a shocking kind of thing. Here's my point. You are raised in your family so differently from anybody else on the planet, from any other family, that when you were a little kid, you're like, whoa, this is kind of weird. Like, let's say you spent like a sleepover at your friend's house for the first time, and you started seeing, like, whoa, you know, when they go to bed, this happens, and when their dad gets mad, holy shit, or, wow, that was weird, that's not the way my dad does it. And you learn how they do breakfast different and everything, and it seems kind of weird. So we've been living on an outdated, fear-based way of functioning together in society. And the lie that we were always taught is, look, well, if you're not following our rules, then you're a sinner and you're going to go to hell. That is a lie. Here I was in high school. I think I was a senior in high school, and the girl that sat next to me, Michelle Blessing, we were partners during science projects for almost the whole semester. And the very last day, we had to tell ourselves about each other. We got in a circle, and Michelle said, "I'm a Mormon," and I looked at her and I was like, "What?" Because my church taught us that the Mormons are wrong and they're going to hell. And I felt so bad, because I think I'd even mentioned it during the semester once or twice. And I remember her kind of like just closing up, and I was like, okay, well, you know, whatever. I assumed she was a Christian. So during this last week, we had 2 hours in class instead of 1 because of finals and all this stuff. And so we had the break, we came back, and I apologized profusely. I actually had to stop because I actually started crying because of that. I felt so bad. She was the sweetest, kindest person I've ever met. And I mean, that was just like one of the sweetest people. I knew right then and there something was just wrong with the way we were doing things. I understand 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, we were in survival mode throughout the world. People were just trying to put food on the table to survive the winters. And I understand, like, we had to live certain ways to survive. I get that. And there were never sins because this tribe that lived in the mountains is different than us and they're going to hell. That is the biggest freaking... They're trying to survive to stay alive. Just like in the Old Testament, one man, multiple women, and multiple children with each wife was considered a blessing upon God. And this is an Old Testament teaching. This is from God. No, I'm not saying we should go back to that. I'm just saying the reason why it was that way was because of survival from invading tribes that would kill us and wipe us out. The larger your tribe was, the more soldiers you had, the more men you had, the better you could defend yourself. This is a good thing. But we don't live in those times anymore. Just like eating pork, just like eating shellfish, like it used to be. By the way, it wasn't a sin. It was like a personal development or a health code saying, hey, don't eat this. It's going to kill you. Because back then they didn't know how to clean pork or shellfish very well. Now, what's my point in saying all this stuff again? You were raised a certain way with certain rules and certain family, relationship, dating, marriage rules. You were raised that way whether you realize it or not, whether it was through your church, your family, or combination. Well, guess what? Avoidants were raised with different rules too. They were raised to believe this is the way you have a relationship, this is the way you do this is the way you have a marriage. Now, admittedly, avoidance will even admit, like, yeah, this is kind of a toxic way of going through life. It's not very healthy, but here's what my point is. They come to the relationship with their set of rules. With their, when you get too close, you got to pull away. You can't be too open. You got to put up a shield. You got to be logical. Don't be weak. Being emotional is weak. They really believe this. Now you come to the table, you come into the relationship with your sets of rules. So you're both trying to play the same game with two completely different set of rules. It doesn't work. So the answer is you two come together as one and you begin to develop your own way of making a relationship work that makes both of you happy. I mean healthy rules that help you get more of what you want out of relationships. So an avoidant has this conflict of, I want to feel love, I want to be intimate, I want to be close to someone, I want to open up, but the minute they do, they go running away because they're like, that's not strong, gotta protect myself. And protect yourself from what? Love? Feeling good? Feeling love? Feeling intimacy? That's what you're running from? Really? So my message here is there's got to be I don't want to even say compromise. There's got to be a way for the two of you to come together to truly have a relationship where you both benefit. You both, not kind of like, well, we're going to compromise. No, I don't even like that word compromise anymore. Where you both get absolute emotional fulfillment, where you can live a deeply meaningful relationship and live life to the fullest. Life is a gift from God that was meant to be enjoyed. So you get to create your life and your relationship in a way that allows you to enjoy it to the fullest. If God brought you together and this is a divine connection, it's meant to be. And just like it says in the New Testament, don't let anyone get in between you. Not even your parents, not your mother, not your father, not your brother, and for damn sure, none of your friends and none of your coworkers, because they will get in between you and divide you and destroy your love. Do not let that happen. That is the number one rule. That's it. I'm going to leave this video at that right there. God bless you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please click subscribe, click the bell, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment. And if you want to support this channel, you can buy any of my dating relationship books. I have 2 books for women, Why Men Just Don't Get It, and I have a book called Crack the Female Code and a package called The Ultimate Package for Men. I also have a 6-day course for men called Crack the Female Code, and for women, we have a 1-day training called Why Men Just Don't Get It. If you have a group of women and you want to take that course, it's a lot of laughs, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to heal a lot, and you're going to start to find your happiness again. My theory on why we fall in love with avoidance so fast is if you're an empath or an open-hearted person, that love that they have inside, they open up to you, especially in the beginning, and you feel it as deeply as they do. The happiness, the joy, the love, the desire, the craving for intimacy and love so deeply, you take on their love and you feel it, and that's why you fall in love with them. Alright, God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.